Hey guys, my name is Boris. I'm a board certified physician assistant, and today's video is going to be about using your stethoscope. So I know it might seem a little bit silly, especially to those of you who have been practicing a while or might be kind of deep into your PA school education, that I have to make a video explaining how to use the stethoscope kind of from the ground up, listening for murmurs, listening for bruits, listening for heart sounds, lung sounds, bowel sounds, just measuring blood pressure manually. The stethoscope does a lot for us. It's one of our most important tools in medicine. And so a lot of what we learn in school is different findings, how to interpret different findings that we may find using our stethoscope on auscultation. What I don't think enough people talk about is how to properly actually use the stethoscope. So for me personally, I have bad hearing. I know I'm only 33, but I already have some hearing loss, mostly because I really like motorcycles, guns, loud rock concerts and stuff like that, and I use all these things frequently. You know, I fire my gun pretty regularly. I ride my motorcycle as a daily driver in the summer. I used to have a much louder motorcycle. Now it's mostly just wind noise because my bike's pretty quiet, but either way, definitely destroys my hearing. I love going to rock concerts. Just this year, I went to Metallica twice. I just saw Rammstein, or Rammstein as Americans might say it, and my ears are still ringing from that. So long story short, I've got some hearing damage. I've got bad hearing. So when I had my first stethoscope, the Littmann Classic 3, it's an okay stethoscope, but it definitely is just not as powerful as a Cardiology Master, which this is, or even a Cardiology 4, but Cardiology Master is definitely top of the line as far as like non-electric normal stethoscopes go. So, not like electrically enhanced is what I meant. So basically, it was actually kind of difficult for me to use a regular stethoscope in school, and a lot of times when we were listening for murmurs, listening for other stuff, a lot of people seem to get things that I just could not hear. I just could not hear faint heart sounds. And I think part of that was because I just don't hear as well as some people. I also think part of that is because I wasn't really using the stethoscope properly. And some people may kind of like have the touch, they might just get it naturally. And some people like me kind of have to learn how to use it through experience. And what I've noticed, even with this stethoscope, I got this pretty shortly after graduating PA school and starting my medical practice. I noticed that it was much better than the Cardiology 3, or than the Littmann Classic 3, and I definitely noticed things much more loudly and vividly. But still, as my experience has grown and I've listened to, hundreds if not thousands of patients at this point, as opposed to a few dozen, maybe a couple hundred while in school, I've noticed, almost dropped it. I've noticed that I've picked a few things up that I'm going to share with you that make using the stethoscope easier. And if you were like me as a PA student, nursing student, medical student, whatever it may be, and you have difficulty hearing the things that you should be hearing, that people around you might be hearing or might be pretending that they are hearing, just so they don't look stupid, things that you should be hearing, maybe if you're not hearing them properly, maybe some of these tips can help you out, okay? So with that long introduction, the actual content of this video is going to be like a minute or two. It's actually pretty quick, pretty simple, but I feel like this isn't explained nearly enough to new medical providers, medical practitioners, and nurses, nursing students, PA students, medical students. So here is what I want to tell you. First things first, obviously I'm not going to put it in because I got my AirPods in recording for this video, but make sure that your stethoscope is oriented properly. Every stethoscope comes like this, the little earpieces curve this way, and I've actually seen people put it on incorrectly, mainly some newer medical assistants that I've seen recently, but I'm sure PA students, medical students, nursing students have done this as well. Make sure that the earpieces that are curved upward, you put them on like this, okay? So they curve upward, they curve forward, make sure that they're facing forward in your ears like this, okay? So not like this, not like this, but like this, okay? So if you hold them in front of you, you see they're curving upward. That is how they should be going into your head, your face facing that way. So like this, just like that. Make sure they're facing forward. Make sure they're nice and snug, and make sure that they have a pretty good fit. People talking around you, you should barely be able to hear because these earpieces should be very, very firmly in your ears, kind of like a noise canceling, noise isolating sort of a headphone, where they basically cut off all the sound around you. So a lot of times when I'm auscultating a patient and they try to talk to me, I can't really hear a word. It sounds very muffled what they're saying, and I actually have to tell them like, hey, sorry, I'm auscultating your chest, I can't hear you. Just hold on a second, I'll listen to you in just a minute. So yeah, this should be a very snug fit, should really be in your ears good. And again, this is very important that it's going this way, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is know what, oops, really dropping my stethoscope here. Good thing Lippmann's got a lifetime warranty. Anyway, know what kind of stethoscope you have. So if you happen to have a cardiology master like this, it actually has multiple settings. So it hears different frequencies depending on how tightly you press it against the patient's chest. So how much pressure you put on it. And then there's also different ways to hold it. There's this way, all of which kind of change how the diaphragm is angled, also change how, basically how much sound gets into the diaphragm, so it adjusts better for different frequencies and different kinds of sounds. So if you're not hearing something properly, squeezing really, really tight, maybe back off a little. Then maybe go kind of medium in the middle. Just play with it with the pressure, because the pressure could really change a lot. And also, be very patient, okay? So maybe squeeze a little bit tighter. Wait a minute. Listen. Listen for a little while, okay? Then maybe back off a little bit. Again, give it a while. Don't just expect to hear perfect heart sounds like you heard on the like the computer programs or videos that we used in school. Real people are not robots, they're not programs, they're not videos, they're not perfect. You know, so just wait a minute, be patient. So that's another thing. Be very, very patient and listen for much longer than you think you need to. Might be a little bit awkward at first, you know, but I promise you the patients understand what you're doing. And if they don't, explain it to them. Hey, look, I really need a minute to listen to your chest. I'm just listening for something. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. Don't worry. I just have bad hearing and I want to make sure that I'm hearing this correctly. And that's it. Just listen. Okay? Tip number 1, put it on correctly. That's very important. Tip number 2, if you happen to have one like this that has adjustable pressure, definitely make sure you try various kinds of pressure before you get one that just kind of feels just right, like Goldilocks, not too tight, not too loose, just right. And also tip number 3, make sure you listen for a while. Be patient, be patient. Listen for much longer than you think you need to, and then you'll hear things, okay? Tip number 4, this one is a little bit odd, but honestly, when I learned this one, a lot of it just kind of clicked. You know, this was like an epiphany moment where I realized, okay, my hearing might be bad, but I can use a stethoscope properly and really use it as the kind of diagnostic tool that it needs to be used as. And this one is a little bit weird, but if you've been practicing for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Don't worry so much. Tip number 4 is, don't worry so much about listening for sounds so much as you worry about feeling the sounds, okay? You're not gonna feel them in your fingertips. You're not gonna feel them in your chest or in your head. You are gonna feel them on your eardrum, but you won't necessarily hear them. It may not be a sound. It may not be like a click, click, or a boom, boom. It might not be that, but you might. If you're quiet and you're paying attention to your body, to the sound, very much paying attention to your ears, you might just feel your eardrums pulsing, okay? And that's what you actually interpret as the heart sound. It's not necessarily a sound that you hear coming out of the speakers in your computer when you're training. It might be more of a sensation, more of a pulsing, more of a feeling, okay? That's something that I realized, I want to say in the last couple of months, and I've been practicing for close to a year, okay? So maybe I've known this all along and I haven't been able to put this into words, but when I realized this, it was an epiphany moment. I'm not necessarily listening for a perfect sound, I'm just listening for a feeling. So again, I know this is hard to explain a little bit, but I hope you get it. I hope this is helping somebody. You're not necessarily waiting for a sound. You might be waiting just to feel your eardrums pulse. All right, I'm gonna say it again because this one is critically important, I think. You're not always listening for a sound. You might just be waiting for your eardrums to pulse. And that's how you can interpret sounds. All right, so especially on kind of bigger people or people who have very faint blood pressure when you're doing it manually, this one I feel like is the most important thing here. It's good with heart sounds too, don't get me wrong, but this is where I've really found it the most useful. You're waiting for your eardrums to kind of pulse, to feel, less than an actual sound. And that could be your blood pressure and that could be your blood pressure sound when you're listening for the manual blood pressure. That could be your heart sounds when you're auscultating the heart. When you're doing breath sounds, obviously that's going to be sounds. You know, is it good air movement? Is there anything in the way? Is there, rales, rhonchi? Is there wheezes? Is there anything like that? So breath, heart or breath, lung sounds, you're usually just kind of going by sound. Bowel sounds, yeah, you're basically just going by the gurgles. Is it hyperactive, hypoactive? Is it basically uniform throughout the 4 quadrants? You're kind of going for sounds here. But for the heart And for the blood pressure, for blood vessels, so heart and blood pressure, I found that feeling, sometimes it's very faint, but if you pay attention, you can feel your eardrums actually move more than an actual sound, because it could be very faint. But even a guy like me who doesn't have very good hearing can still feel it and use the stethoscope as a diagnostic tool as it should be used. All right, guys, so I really hope that's helpful to somebody who's out there just frustrated that, I got the stethoscope, I even paid money for a good one, I didn't get a cheap one, I paid a lot of money for a great stethoscope, and I just still am just not getting the heart sounds that a lot of people in school are telling me that they're getting. Something's wrong with me. I just can't get the stethoscope to work for me. Try that, okay? Try these 4 tips. Let me know if it helps. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video.